back again. We are right into pick and ban for game two, and I have a special announcement. Coach
Oh, what is
Cooper
it?
gets to stay. You get to stay for game two.
Oh,
So it was
let
fake
me
news
cancel my
earlier.
plans.
I said you were only game one. You're here for game two as well. We got to give the fans what they want, so that's what we're doing.
Well, the fans got exactly what we wanted them to get in that first game, and this will be exciting to see what happens in game two as we come out swinging. Misfortune, not in this match.
Yeah, as expected. And the other thing that I did expect to see banned from Ready Set Sit Down, they did ban the Lulu. Okay, so team eschewing obfuscation, which how dare you
You know what?
name your team
I've got
that?
something to do. I can't say that every time.
Yeah, this is team EO.
There you
We've
go.
got to work something out here. But team eschewing obfuscation, they have run Lulu both weeks 1 and 3. Um, their AD carry does put on his big boy carry pants. Okay, this team is shooting at obfuscation. They do that, and they want to load that AD carry with a lot of protection. So it's good to see Ready Set Sit Down recognize that and then take that Lulu completely out of the game.
Yeah, and we're seeing an Aphelios come through. And Maokai, game one, game two doesn't really dictate anything, but it's always interesting to see which champs kind of make it throughout coaches' rivals. Yes, I'm so glad I am
No,
here.
no.
Teemo has made it
Oh wow!
into season one after the beta season. This is amazing. This is
I
so
want
good.
I want to think you have something to do with this.
Uh,
Did you are you like
so
DMing them right now?
just pick
Slipping them a
Teemo.
20?
Hey, Teemo makes for fun matches, right? It really changes the gameplay. You lose a tank, but you get a huge magic damage monster. Maybe it's top, maybe it's jungle. Teemo goes everywhere.
Now
See
I
how
will
they
say
respond.
this: I am brave. I'm shocked that they picked the Aphelios. I don't think Aphelios is a bad pick, but I feel like it's a very brave pick right now, especially since the nerfs came through on 1013. Aphelios normally runs Conquer. Conquer got nerfed for him. It now requires 12 stacks. Death Dance got nerfed for him. He'd like to build that for the defensive stats. His white gun is nerfed, and his ultimate got nerfed. So Aphelios got gutted in 1013. But
Sponsored
Ready
by
Set
Nerf.
Sit Down and says it's okay. We're confident enough in our play. We're going to go with it.
We're gonna go with it. We're gonna get a Morgana. We're gonna get Roots, and we're just gonna fire off with Aphelios. I mean, complicated champ with a lot going on, but wow, Aphelios can really deal it out. We've got another Annie, game two,
Yep.
and Volibear.
Volibear, yeah, there it is.
Great. So probably, Teemo Jungle makes a lot of sense here. Just kidding. Um, that's a fun comp we've got going over here, and then we've got a heal comp with some CC. Hecarim, Ezreal, Maokai. I mean, two different kind of styles going on. So this should set up for something really fun.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, especially with the Teemo, because as we were saying, or you mentioned earlier too, and as well as anybody, Teemo doesn't have a lot
Wow.
of that team fight agency, but they can just commit to the split push here with Teemo, and if he completely dumpsters his lane, topside, putting a bunch of those shrooms all around those those topside neutral objectives around Rift Herald, around Baron, he can really start to have an impact later on, even though he doesn't have as much in team fights because of his ult being, so situational.
Yeah, I think, Teemo is the joke of League of Legends. Everybody wonders why he's any tier at all. And it's because he seems like he can't contribute, but he's got vision across the map with his mushrooms, right? Like those are everywhere and they proc for damage. So that's a huge benefit to objective control. Yes, he's incredibly squishy, but he starts to become really fast and his attack speed can really go nuts. So you have to remember you don't have a tank in the top lane, but what you do have is a possible AP scaling monster if you don't get caught out. If you get caught out, see you later. It's
Right.
a 4v5 immediately, and if Teemo doesn't run to the back line and try and bounce mushrooms, right? After level 11, those mushrooms can really be tossed, and he can be a problem. But his main benefit is just that vision and objective control. Really, really, you can light the map up. So we'll just see how it happens. We haven't seen him a lot, and so it'll be interesting to see how he gets responded to.
I would say that the Ezreal pick is good into the Teemo because of a lot of Ezreal's damage coming out of his spell slinging. So the blind from Teemo isn't going to be as efficient and as effective on the Ezreal. I mean, it's definitely going to hurt, and he's not going to be able to weave in his auto attacks as well. But he can. The Ezreal's still going to be able to put out damage. So that is a good thing on the side of Team EO, as I'm going to call him now.
We've got Teemo and then Team EO. Yeah. That's problematic.
If this Teemo were into a Jinx like we had last game, that'd have been awful.
Oh, that would have been horrible with the blind off that. I mean, yes, the blinding dart can just shut down an auto attack champion.
Absolutely. All right, so they are moving into champ select now. So we're going to switch over. We're going to take a quick break, catch our breath between games here. And then as soon as they get loaded in, we're going to bring that action to you. So stick around. We will be right back. Everybody, welcome back to our second match of the night between team number 2, Eschewing Obfuscation. I don't think I messed it up that time. And team 6, Ready, Set, Sit Down. Eschewing Obfuscation coming in undefeated so far. They are 2-0 in the tournament. They had a bye week during week 2. And Ready, Set, Sit Down coming in at 2-1. So although looking at it, I know chat, I've seen one in chat saying Team EO is still undefeated. However, Team EO has only played 2 matches to Ready, Set, Sit Down's 3.
Yeah, and you got to take that into account when you get started in talking about stats. Technically, 2-0, they just haven't played enough. So we'll see what happens with this game as we start with a 5-wide start, kind of a classic defensive start. Annie's gonna kind of posture, see what's going on as Zoe comes in to just get out of here, Annie.
Do Zoe things, just hit you from halfway across the map.
Yep, and as we get started hitting that 130 pretty close as these buffs are about to spawn, we're going to start seeing our junglers do their thing and laning phase begin.
Yeah, traditional starts here. Leashings for the jungle on the bot side of the map. So looking for, I guess both jungles looking topside. Teemo, look at the Teemo. Teemo leaving lane to get a ward on the red side, or the blue team's blue buff.
Teemo goes where Teemo wants. It's kind of like a little Mundo. Teemo's coming back to lane, and with the jungle meta these days, you never know. Volley might go for a 3-camp start to rush up to that top side. But if they kind of full clear, we might see some contests up in that top scuttle. It's always interesting these first 5 minutes as you try to set a tempo leading into that first objective, and trying to either choose, are we going to be hard aggressive in laning phase, or are we just going to try and CS up and get some gold?
Yeah, I think definitely it's going to be, I think it'd be difficult for Volibear to gank top lane, just because of the Teemo not having any sort of crowd control to kind of assist in that, even though Volley does bring his own crowd control. But it's definitely going to be easy for the Volibear to try to gank bot side with this Morgana, targeting Soraka with her Qs. Even mid, if Zoe can hit a bubble on Annie, that does help quite a bit. So I think, and on the flip side of that, Hecarim doesn't really have a good gank target on the bot side of the map. Hecarim is, you have a Soraka that doesn't bring any crowd control other than her E that most people don't stand in long enough to get rooted, and
right.
The Ezreal doesn't bring CC like a Bearswood, as Zoe's going really aggressive here. Looks like she does have the flash. She can get her Q passive on there, but she does not have the damage and it ends
That
up
almost
being
went
a
bad.
trade of summoners. A trade of
Wow.
summoners, except for the Annie. The Annie does keep her. Obviously, she has teleport. She can't use that in the middle of it, but she's coming to lane with one less combat summoner from the Annie we had last game, and she's also running Electrocute, which is also something to take note of.
Yeah, that almost went sideways really fast. Annie dodged, just got out of the way and was able to survive, and then those two towers almost took Zoe out. That was close.
Yeah.
And we see Volibear recalling. Teemo's been laying down a lot of punch in the top lane, and Hecarim's going to come up there and maybe possibly help defend that top turret.
Aphelios really flirting with fire there. He was able to get the Scythe Gun Q off to get all the procs there onto the Ezreal. However, the Soraka was there just to sustain him up through all that, and he ate a lot of return damage. Ended up having to burn his heal, whereas blue side bot lane actually kept all their summoners there for that trade. So a lot of action on the map. We saw Teemo lose his flash topside from a Hecarim gank.
Yeah, Hecarim came up from around the turret. You know, Teemo was pushed really far in, laying down some auto attacks and some Qs on that Maokai and using that bush coverage with his passive. Really being aggressive early, trying to win in the early game in that lane. Their CS is matched, so we'll have to see if he can kind of scale in to the later game. You know, as he gets 6 and he's able to put those mushrooms down, if they can put him in the right spot, it can really cause some problems for ganks and Maokai if you're not using a sweeper constantly up there.
I'm looking for Volibear to actually go really aggressive here in the bot side.
Yep.
Aphelios was able to back and buy. He does have an item advantage on the Ezreal. If the Ezreal backs here in order to match that buy, which he just did, that does open up a lot of pressure bot side now to get vision on Drake. Potentially try to get a pick here mid here. It looks like Annie's going aggressive now. It's her turn. Volibear coming in for the save, and Tibbers with the backhand just slaps Zoe into oblivion. That was an awesome fight there in the mid lane. Well played by Annie.
Yeah. And Volibear tries to come in and save just a little bit. Had to blow a flash to get out of there as Hecarim showed up as well. And I was just looking down at the minimap to see what was happening around Drake. And both of them were near the pit. Hecarim hit the Scry Bloom and saw Volibear was there. And looks like now that's going to open up a Drake for blue side.
Yeah, with mid prio, they're going to look to do that. And even though Reset Sit Down has, they were able to shove that wave in on the bot side, it'd been easy for the Ezreal to come up and try to answer that Drake. So it looks like blue team is going to pick us as Teemo gets a kill in the top lane onto the Maokai. So anybody in Twitch chat that's really big on this Teemo right now, I'm sure they're loving that play there.
Yeah, let's see. Teemo is a god, actually. Dova Kid, you're my new best friend.
Well,
So that's just a little, you see that wave and you have to choose. Do I stay and overstay a little bit, try and shove this wave and risk it? And sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But here we are seeing Aphelios very low.
Yeah, Ezreal wants all of this right here, and he's going to get it. As we see the Ignite coming down from the Morgana, but the Soraka is there to just heal him up straight through it. Ezreal just staying just outside of tower range. What a great trade there, as Soraka could be picked off here by this Zoe. Zoe's lurking. There's the bubble. This is max distance Q here. What damage. We do just get the flash out of the Soraka, and that's another Dark Harvest stack on Zoe.
And the more you get, the more those become a problem in the late game. You're trying in the early game to get as many of those stacks as possible, hoping that rune actually is worth its slot. But yeah, that was a. We've seen some risky engages. There we go. We see a wall of shrooms, defensive shroom wall for ganks or for anyone coming down as Teemo once again wards that topside jungle.
And we may end up seeing something similar to what we saw last game, where basically both teams agree and say, all right, fine, I'll gank bot side, I'll let you gank top side. because with the Teemo up top, having the control around this area, he actually bought Cull here too, so he's in the long haul here to farm up, to end up selling that, and ended up farm it all the way up, get all those stacks in, selling it,
and that harassed.
Yeah, and then just have so much money to work with. As we have the Hecarim ult, he is going aggressive onto the Teemo, and he's able to roam up there, catching the Volley. Volley is not going to live long, neither is his Teemo. Unfortunately, they were not able to get back to the Teemo Shrooms that had been placed previously, or that fight may have played out a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, 3 across, that's kind of, you can play them as a bait, right? Oh, they saw me, and then they chase you, and they hit this wall of Teemo Shrooms, but it looks like they just overextended, trying to pull off something super creative, and then that roam from Zoe really turned it into a 2v3.
So a great early lead here for Eschewing Obfuscation. We do have CS lead, just a slight CS lead in the bot lane, slight CS lead in the mid lane. So right now they're just kind of controlling the map with those objectives and getting those kills onto their team, generating that gold, getting those item advantages, and right now looking to bully Ready, Set, Sit Down.
Yeah, and Soraka has a 6 lead versus Morgana's 5, so she's got that global heal potential coming in, and we'll see how they play it off. There's been so much action in that bot lane, lots of back and forth, just the last pixel on that Morgana Q.
Watch the ult. The ult is clean. Morgana is down. Aphelios does get the Infernum ult. He is trading here into the Ezreal, but the Soraka's going to heal all this up. Unfortunately, he is not able to get that kill. That Soraka played that perfectly, staying far enough away as Teemo now is kiting this out through the Shroom, slowing down the Hecarim. But it looks like without a flash, he may not get very far here. There comes the Q slow from Malphite. They should be able to get out of that as Zoe does get the roam down, pick up the kill onto the Ezreal. Annie comes down as well to answer that onto Zoe. This game is a bloodbath, Cooper.
Yeah, it's a back and forth. I mean, it is just fight after fight after fight. When we watched the game before in game 1, we did see a lot of aggressive fights and a lot of creative moves to try and move across the map and apply some pressure. But this is a lot of engage. We're just seeing moves being made, but we're also seeing really good roams and people coming to help and assist where it's needed. So just good mini-map awareness and ping control. We're watching people respond. It's definitely a team game going on here.
Yeah, and I like how much the Annie is roaming, despite not having the Predator. This Summer Spell selection, or the Keystone selection on the Annie, is a little more traditional with the Electrocute because it's really easy. You auto QW and you proc it and you're out of there. The Predator does allow you to roam more easily to get to those side lanes much more quickly for ganks, but this Electrocute Annie is making some really good roams even with Electrocute. So red team here, Race Set Sit Down, they are starting up this Drake. And Hecarim is right there to answer. They are ready to contest. As the ult comes down from the Volibear, he is right in the middle of this, just tanking up all this damage. Zoe gets caught on the back end. Volibear goes down. Aphelios flashing in, trying to trade on the Ezreal. He is able to, but Annie's going to catch up to him. She does have that flash. And blue team picks up the dragon at the end of that exchange.
Yeah, they really tried to speed that Drake. I think they thought they had an opportunity, and they had to make a risky play. And they, unfortunate sides of that is you've done a lot of kiting, or you've done a lot of leashing for the other team when they come in. So you have to be aware of that possible steal, or in that case with Hecarim, just rushing in and throwing everybody off.
Yeah, now, Raise Set Sit Down need to look at this, and now they've got to work on a game plan for the mid-game. This laning phase is ending here with this Rift Herald charge. It's not going to quite kill that tower, but it's not going to last much longer. They need to be looking at what is their comp intended to do post-laning phase. With the Zoe, they can get some picks. With the Morgana, they can get some picks. The Aphelios is a great team fighter, but it does look like they're going to be looking to get some picks, and they need to get this Teemo split pushing, which he is still farming really well up there, but the rest of Eschewing Obfuscation is just saying, okay, fine, we're just going to group up on the other side of the map and, you know, just not let Teemo get much out of him trying to win that lane.
Yeah, and we saw that in the first game. Top side was a 1v1 back and forth on its own little island, like you said. You know, if somebody can crack that zone, then you can start to snowball. But if it's just back and forth even match, then sometimes you just watch it happen as you use that to push somewhere else along the map.
A lot of action going here. Zoe might have this one, but the Tibbers stun comes down. Zoe's trying to get around Tibbers to hit that Paddle Star. Unable to. Tibbers is a big, beefy boy. And just blocked Zoe and all those skill shots there. And unfortunately, Zoe goes down again. Now at a 1-4-1 scoreline.
Yeah, and when you bring Tibbers into the match, you know, you get that 2v1 all of a sudden. And now you have to decide who's the threat, how do I get away? And in that case, Tibbers was on the other side, and so we just had to make a choice, and it's
look at that. The
tough.
Ezreal ult. I think that's the third kill that Ezreal ult has picked up this game.
It's so brutal. You know, it's global, which doesn't help, and it's kind of wide area. I mean, it's
Teemo's in
Teemo's
trouble.
caught out behind enemy lines here.
It is just happening on both sides of the map here for Race Set Sit Down. They are hemorrhaging gold here to Eschewing Obfuscation. They really need to settle down and try to stop this. I think I know they were forcing fights. The Volibear gank on the bot side, really optimistic. I know you want to gank, but right now they need to focus on just stopping the bleeding, managing the waves. They need to farm up and get some items, because right now, with the gold difference between these two teams, I don't think that Race Set Sit Down. There's another Ezreal ult kill this time on the Aphelios. I don't think they're going to win a straight-up fight.
And they've just been so aggressive. I mean, we're seeing this Ezreal come beyond the wave to get poke, right? Taking the chance on turret shots, right? Making some risky plays that when you've got full health, you know, you can take that risk, but being super aggressive down in the bot lane.
I do remember as Annie comes up, runs up now, Teemo's all by himself. There's so much collapsing from Eschewing Obfuscation. We may have a pick here onto the Soraka. That would give them a good morale boost here, as Ezreal's going to go aggressive. He's actually going past the tower in mid lane, or past the tier 1 there mid lane to try to chase for that kill. Unfortunately, unable to get so, but he's going to get out safely. Just going to Arcane Shift out of there as Eschewing Obfuscation picks up the tier 1 in the top lane.
Yeah, they just dropped that rift up there to apply another zone of pressure.
Yeah.
And another snipe from Ezreal. So it looks like we've got our next Drake is coming up in a couple seconds here, and that rift top side is going to apply a ton of pressure. It's not going to make it any further. But with timers on blue side, nobody's on timers. They're going to start moving towards that.
That's good. There it is.
There you go.
Great. Okay, so
take a breather.
Yeah, that is great for Race Set Sit Down. They need to alleviate some of this pressure that's going on, and the way they're going to do it is by getting these picks. They have Zoe to get great picks, and they have Morgana to be able to snare champions, but they do not need to go in to these big team fights and just try to straight up 2v2 or 3v3. There's too much gold on the side of the blue side, so as they're taking this fight here, Zoe is trying to get away here, and Hecarim's just all over her. And the Volibear dies on the bot side. Aphelios, I don't think you want that, bro. You might want to bail out.
Look at the window. And
Morgana went for the ult Sonya's, and Hecarim just barely got outside of range there.
Yeah,
as they do go for Drake.
And Teemo's doing some split pushing. Looks like Ezreal's going to respond, trying to shove that tower, get a wave in there. As yeah, we've got a third Drake over on the blue side. Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna have Soul Point coming up here, shy of 25 minutes, right?
yeah, 5-minute countdown starts, and you know what? See what can happen in the next 5 minutes if they can move that pressure, if they can rotate around this map, try not to get picked out.
That's bad news, Teemo.
Yes.
He's going to be chased down, and
A
Ezreal
miss.
does have the Iceborne Gauntlet, so if he can tag him, there's the
There
slow,
you go.
there's the kill. Yeah, that Ezreal, you sacrifice damage with the Iceborne Gauntlet as opposed to Trinity Force, but it does offer some utility for a champion that doesn't really have utility. So it's very beneficial for him to build that, and it gives him some survivability as well.
Yeah, anytime you can add even a soft crowd control, a slow, it can really help. Just like that, you know, someone thinks they can get away, and you could just get them on the edge and still take them out. As we see Annie getting caught out by, I guess it's technically a 2v2. Tibbers now 3v2. And a double from Ezreal.
As Ezreal is rolling, I do remember the games from week 1. I remember watching them. I remember issuing Obfuscation, playing Ezreal, and I remember someone in Twitch chat. All right, I remember them saying that's the last time we're gonna see Ezreal. But you know, here's the thing too. Ezreal's running Conqueror as well, so these, you know, the Conqueror nerfs affected him just like it affected Aphelios. So we haven't had enough time on this patch for teams to evaluate, I guess, the worth of Ezreal now in 10-13 compared to 10-12. But he's always going to be so viable because of his mobility and the burst damage that he can offer, as he picks up another kill there on the Zoe. And it looks like this is going to be a free Baron for Eschewing Obfuscation.
Yeah, and a 20-minute Baron at that, as Teemo is just trying to create another Shroom wall over here. I mean, the 20-minute Baron is stronger. It's taken them quite a ways to do this, as they've got some zoning they're doing. Volibear's in the topside jungle. Morgana's going to try and clean up this mid lane. Aphelios is looking like trying to clean up that bot lane. Trying to shove some waves and take a breath.
Yeah, the good news for Race Sets It Down is there's a lot of standing gold on the map for them without kills. There are towers for them to get. You know, Aphelios working on the spot tower. That's gold for your team. You know, that's a plus. I know they don't see how far down they are in gold right now. So they're trying to, you know, scrape up as much gold as they can. And yeah, that gold that you get off the tower isn't a huge dent in the lead, but when you're in game and you don't see how big the lead is, it is a boost there. No, you're getting something. You know, that could be an item completion.
Well, exactly. That could be exactly, you know, in a wave, a CS wave at the same time, right? Those things add up very quickly. As we see,
so this is a chance for them to work their comp right here and get this pick. You only have 2 champions there in the mid lane, but they're trying to get this. But Ezreal kiting that out very, very well, getting a double kill, getting the Volibear and the Aphelios. And Teemo died to Annie.
Oh no!
That Q barely missing. He wants it. There it is. Yeah, that's the triple there for Ezreal. Unofficial triple.
And now they are in the base.
Yeah. This Ezreal has just such a loaded kit with mobility, with the burst damage, and with his W being able to proc on structures like that. He can, you know, really start to shred those.
Yeah, as we see top inhib tower, mid inhib tower, and zoning off as the red team comes back in to try and give a defense. We've seen the Ezreal out. Teemo goes down.
Yeah, so that's I was mentioning there in Champs, like that blind, you're going to do damage, but Ezreal's still going to spell sling, and he's still going to be able to do that damage as Volibear goes down. Not a lot he can do here. Aphelios on the outside, he does have Infernum, but He doesn't have a team to be able to peel for him in that situation. They end up dying beforehand. So I believe we're just in the formalities of closing out the game here. There's not a whole lot Morgana can do. Looks like it's going to be a quick, 23-minute game here. 23, almost 24-minute game here. Win for Eschewing Obfuscation as they go undefeated through their first 3 games. They're going to have the bye week in week 2, but they are undefeated through their first 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, strong start as we get into this mid-season split, and I think we saw at the end there that gold difference was, I think, in the 17K, and as you'd mentioned, you can pick up that difference as you go with objective control, but Team EO was just so aggressive. They really played the objective, don't come near the objective game.
Right. And I think the race set sit down comp was difficult to execute because they needed picks. They needed picks with the Morgana, but you had an Ezreal that could jump around.
Right.
They needed picks with the Zoe, but again, even when the Zoe does, if the Zoe can't get to the point where she's executing with the Paddle Star, then Annie's going to hit those break points where she can execute faster than the Zoe can. And when the Zoe, you saw when the Zoe got the jump on the Annie could just cycle through her combo, drop Tibbers, juke a Paddle Star, or even body block with it, and then it's a trade in Annie's favor.
Yeah, and that's the second game in a row with Annie. And Annie just is a beast. She has a kit. She's got the CC. She's got the huge CC when you drop Tibbers. And again, a 6th champion or a 1v1 becomes a 2v1 with Tibbers in the game. And it could just be really hard to play around that. You think you've got the jump on her, and then all of a sudden you're trying to figure out why you're respawning.
All right, so I'll talk just a second. I do have the stats pulled up. I don't have it pulled up on the stream, but at the end of that game, Ezreal had 35,000 damage to champions, and the highest damage total for Ready Set Sit Down was 9,800, and that was coming out of Aphelios.
Yeah, the Ezreal just had, I mean, just took command of that role of just dealing out that damage.
Yeah, it just a really great performance there by Eschewing Obfuscation. I think we're probably going to see more Twitch chat comments. Don't let the Ezreal through.
Yeah, we'll never see Ezreal again.
Never see Ezreal again.
Was it Vel'Koz because you gave so many good tips on Vel'Koz in game 1, and Ezreal because, well, no one wants to see Ezreal now.
So, all right. Well, that should be it for us. We actually have a game 3 is going to be commentated and hosted on a whole nother stream. So we are going to host that here. Yeah. So if you stick around, you're going to see that. But other than that, that's going to be it for us. Cooper, thanks for joining me and sticking around for game 2.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It's fun being on this side of the screens, and happy to be here and glad to do it. And thanks to all the people out in Twitch land. And sorry Ez and sorry Vel'Koz. We'll never see you again.
All right, so we'll see you guys next week. Except next week we'll be on the Rift, so
yes,
keep an eye out for that.
Watch us.
All right, have a good one.